All right, JAG University, episode 22, talking what everybody loves to talk about, at least if you have one, personal watercrafts, right? Everybody,
Boats.
we live in Miami. Well, I'm assuming across the United States of America, right? But everybody loves their boats around the
Right.
world. They say that the happiest day is when you buy one and then when you sell one, but that's
It's neither here nor there.
that's neither here or there. But the biggest question becomes, all right, am I covered correctly?
Right.
What's the biggest, and I'm going to answer this. I'll let you answer it. But what's the biggest question you get about actually boat coverage?
Especially when it comes to first-time boat owners or when you buy a boat big enough to be able to take you far enough, the first question to ask is, can I get to the Bahamas? Will my insurance cover me if I get to the Bahamas? I'm planning on going to the Bimini in 2 weeks. Am I covered? That's the first and main question asked. And then you have to refer to coverage territory and see where you lie.
It's funny that besides price, that's the second. That's actually
Right.
that's 1A and 1B, right?
Right.
Not how much the boat's covered for. What are my liability limits?
Right.
It's like, can I get to the Bahamas? So navigational limitations. Those are one of the things with watercrafts. Again, you got to kind of look at how's it defined, right? Sometimes companies go into actual nautical miles, or they'll just kind of basically carve out and do coverage territory limitations, right? They'll actually name the specific places you can go to.
Right.
In your opinion, is that something you can kind of push back with some companies?
Right. No, most companies will give you the option. They'll ask you where you plan on traveling to, and as long as you provide them with an accurate list of where you're planning on going to, and it's something reasonable. I mean, if you got an 18-foot open fisherman, you're telling them you want to get down to the Caribbean, I mean, you're not going to be covered, right?
Right. So it's just a lot of times to do with realistic expectations
Exactly.
to the size of the boat, right?
Right.
If it's as the capacity of going certain places.
Right.
Now there is a little bit of pushback as well. Experience matters too.
Experience of the owner as well. Yeah.
Correct. Now the other thing which comes up too, and this is another thing, is when we talk about personal watercrafts, right? We talk about, especially down here, hurricane coverage.
Right.
And then there's also the fine print about between hurricane season, June 1st and November 1st, right? There's a hurricane endorsement. Like during those, where is your boat going to be the mooring location during that time?
Right.
There's a lot of exclusions as far as where your boat's going to be at. I mean, if you're stuck in the Bahamas, right, the Bimini specifically during that time, you got to make sure with your carrier that they're going to extend coverage there as well.
Right. No, that's something to definitely ask and take a look at before you buy the policy. You want to make sure your boat's covered throughout the year, wherever it is that you're planning on being at.
I mean, how many times do you help your clients fill out a hurricane plan?
Handful of times in terms of figuring out, okay, when a hurricane comes, where are you planning on having it? Do you have a backup plan in case a big enough storm comes and you don't want your precious baby weathering the storm?
No. It's the most stressful part, right? That comes first, and then worry about everything else.
No, you leave your kids behind.
No, and the second thing too, what I've seen too is when we come up with a hurricane plan so much, especially with first-time boat owners, they kind of shoot for the stars per se, but they're not very realistic. And you got to be careful of what you're letting the insurance company you're going to do, because again, maritime, marine, watercraft specifically, it's one of those forms that we got to be very specific on what's not covered.
Exactly.
Right? Like you need to actually follow those details, right? It's
You
the
gotta read between the
subjectivities.
lines,
Yeah, the
right.
subjectivities on marine are bigger than, in my opinion, than most other coverage areas or lines of business
Right.
for other industries. So as far as hurricane plan, be realistic. Like let the company know. They may not necessarily exclude hurricane, but you might get a higher retention or a higher deductible, right?
Right.
From 3 to maybe 5%, maybe a 10%, which is getting harder and harder to find down here. But it's one of those things. Be very transparent when it comes to personal watercraft.
Right. No, I mean you're better off if you're having your boat stored in a boat storage location, something like that that's fortified. I mean, obviously, if you have your boat there, you have a lot less to worry about than if you're parking on the side of your house.
Right.
So.
Right. No, the other thing too is watch out for theft. A lot of times, there's a bunch of exclusions with theft. I think the marine, especially the personal watercraft market, it's one of those things that's gotten very hard market, harder to place as far as options. And it's not necessarily prices are going up, which it is a trend, but covers are being cut out. There are a lot of players now coming in South Florida offering watercraft coverage, but they're 100% excluding theft. Actually, it's covered, but depending on what type of tracking device you have, they'll add it or not. That's
Right.
Again, we'll go back attention to the details.
Exactly.
Page 65, right? That
Right.
sometimes
On the back.
on the back,
Footnote.
and anything. Sometimes closing's coming up. You have not us, but other agencies or agents that try to hurry up with the sale, and they're pushing it. But they're not paying attention to the details. And
Right.
everybody loves their boat.
Right.
We've seen Most people get upset about their boat than other lines of coverage.
Correct. So you don't want to piss off a boat owner.
No. So, I mean, just to kind of recap, when you're looking at your personal watercraft, pay attention to the navigational limitations, the hurricane endorsement. It's all about the exclusions. And it's not going to affect the price, but they're telling you what they want, and be really, really extra transparent. That hurricane plan, be realistic. Do exactly what you're going to say, because you're going to give them more leverage to hopefully not deny a claim for you.
Right. Correct. 100%.